Well, George, how are you today?
Hi, how are you today, Brother John, Brother Meatball? What a wonderful week.
Yes, so today is actually Wednesday. The Bills played Monday night.
Yep.
Uh, I was in no condition to do a video yesterday after all the celebration and being up late.
Uh-huh.
So today we're doing our post-game recap.
Good.
So I think just to, we're not going to go through play-by-play or drive-by-drive, just as more of a
No.
your thoughts of the game.
Okay. My thoughts. Here's some numbers. All right.
Oh, gotcha.
The Bills ran 62 offensive plays.
Okay.
24 of those plays were running plays. 38 of those plays were passing plays.
All right.
Now, not all those passes were complete, but that's how it broke down.
Okay.
24 running plays, 38 passing plays. That's a 39% to 61% ratio. So almost 60-40.
Yeah.
60 passing, 40. So that's kind of similar to last week. Now, when you break it down, instead of looking at just passing plays or running plays, you break it down running backs, which includes the fullback,
Oh, Gilliam. Okay.
versus receivers, which is wide receivers, tight ends, slot receiver,
Okay.
and I took out of the running plays 3 running plays because there were quarterback scrambles.
Oh, okay.
So now it breaks down to 29 plays were done by the running backs and 29 plays were done by the other receivers.
Oh,
So it breaks down to 50-50. So the Bills use their running backs on 50% of plays, which is even a higher number than it was last week. That's
oh,
how much they're trying to get their running backs involved. Now, 29 plays for the running backs, some of those were passes. They got some completions, they got some incompletions, but they kept the running backs involved in the game. And they did this on both sides of they did this in both games, John. And I think that is significant. The Bills are spreading the ball around and they're using their running backs in a short passing game, except for one long one they threw to their fullback, Gilliam, which was, I thought, absolutely crazy, but what the heck, right? They're using their running backs in the game, passing and running, and it's a short passing game, which is just an extension of their running game.
that makes sense. Okay.
So they continue to utilize their running backs coming out of the backfield. Now, who do you think was the leading rusher for the Buffalo Bills?
Cook.
Yes, James Cook. He had 11 rushes for 53 yards. Now, most of that came in the fourth quarter when the Bills took out their starters.
Sure.
Do you know that was better than Derrick Henry?
Well, yeah, Henry did not have a very good game, did he?
Derrick Henry had 13 running plays for 25 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. The Bills totally shut down that running game. And when they shut down that running game, the first possession that the Titans had, they threw short passes, they made completions, and they moved the ball down the field. They ate up some of the clock and they were able to score. And then that was the end of the game for them. They couldn't seem to do that again. The Bills made adjustments. They had much better coverage. And we did run a blitz where not Milano, Trey Edmonds came up the middle and sacked the quarterback.
Got a sack today. Yes, he did. Or yesterday. Yes, he did.
I would say that Von Miller was double and even triple teamed. And Gregory Rousseau had a heck of a game, as well as maybe the best one having a game was Jordan Phillips. They absolutely crushed the middle of that line and collapsed it. And they gave Tannehill no time to find anybody. And John, I got to tell you, this is the first time I ever remember, and you tell me if you remember anything different, but this is the first time I remember that before the end of the third quarter, the Titans gave up.
They gave up, yeah.
They took out their starters
Yeah.
to keep them fresh from getting injured. They were already down 41-0.
Yeah.
And so the Bills did the same thing in the fourth quarter. It was just like watching a late fourth quarter preseason game.
Yes, it was. It was kind of like that.
So the Bills totally dominated Tennessee, both sides of the ball. And even with Gabe Davis out, Diggs was just incredible. And like I say, they did throw the ball around to other players as well. They really mixed it up. They kept Tennessee guessing. Tennessee really took quite an effort to stop. If you can believe this, they really tried to stop the run game. They were stacking the box, John. There were even plays where they were playing a one high safety. And when they went into those coverages, the Bills that's when they were able to throw long, and these guys were wide open. So it was a great game on our side of the ball, and it was a really terrible game for the Titans. Overall, it was a wonderful game for a Bills fan. And if you were a Tennessee fan or just an impartial fan, you would have got bored with this game. The Bills crushed them. So it was a huge win. It was a huge win on Buffalo side. And I think the coaching, both offensively and defensively, were impeccable. And we did punt the ball. And the first punt that the Bills did, it bounced off the guy's face mask.
Turnover.
Yeah, we bounced off his face mask, and the Bills recovered. So the Bills, even on special teams, had a heck of a day. And on the defense side, they even had a pick six.
Sometimes when it's your day, it is just your day.
Yeah.
You really have to punt the ball, and it's a turnover. You get it back. Like how that worked. Yeah, it's
they were leading 41-7. If the Titans could have called the game after the third quarter, they would have got on the bus and got the hell out of town. And the Bills did. They actually gave up the fourth quarter. They just put in their third stringers and called it a day.
Yeah.
And they still scored 41 points.
Well, yeah, you don't take the points off the board. I will say, so you gave a bunch of numbers, a couple of numbers that we should note. A lot of Cook's runs happened in the fourth quarter.
Uh-huh.
So whatever that would be, you said 53 yards on 11. That's about 4.8 yards a carry. That's a bit inflated because he's going up against guys he's going up against Tennessee's second and third stringers, and they've effectively given up.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are trying to run clock, and so is Tennessee at that point. It was that they would give up like that.
Well, if you remember last week, the running backs contributed to 40% of the plays.
Yeah.
This week, the running backs contributed to 50% of the plays. So I agree with you on that. A lot of that was just wasting time in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, I think we would have seen more of a 60-40 split again.
I think you're probably Keenan wasn't in there to throw the ball downfield.
No.
He was in there.
He was just in there to hand it off to the third string guy.
I was watching, some coverage. I know you were looking at some coverage today about the game. Mm-hmm. Chris Sims from NBC said the Bills have the cheat code. They've got the cheat code.
The cheat code, like a Nintendo game or something.
Yeah, they got the cheat code right now. Uh, Interesting note. No one really knows what to like. So our next opponent, we're not really going to talk the pregame show. Our next opponent is Miami, but in the talk today, every so often the next game would pop up, and nobody really knows what to make of Miami's offensive outburst in the second half. But the Bills look really unstoppable offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they corralled Derrick Henry, Jesus, the changes that Bean made when he brought in those defensive tackles,
Mm-hmm.
that made a difference.
Yeah.
That really made a difference. Last year when they played the Titans, they never were able to put the Titans in a position where they had to give up on Henry and just pass.
Right.
And this year, now part of that is also because of Tennessee's defense, but this year the Tennessee offense, the Titans offense, just after that first drive just couldn't get going.
Yeah, when you take it was before the end of the third quarter. It was during the third quarter when they took Tannehill out of the game and Henry out of the game. When you're taking these guys out of the game, you're saying you have no running game, and which meant you have no game.
For that,
They had no game, and they're a one-dimensional team that went down to a zero dimension, and it was incredible to see that happen. I don't remember that in professional sports. I can't imagine a team in baseball losing 10-4 and just putting in all the bench players because they're like, well, what the hell, we don't care. Yeah, I never seen anything like that.
I think I've seen some stuff in college, but not in the professional ranks. That was all right. We're packing it in, and it was like not that early.
Mm-hmm.
Not that early. I've certainly seen. I remember a few games when the Bills got blown. I remember one against Miami where they pulled Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
You got to be ready for the rest of the season, and so I get it. But they made that decision pretty early.
Yeah, when we watched them play the Rams, I thought they were late in taking Allen out of the game. Like, what are you doing with that kind of a lead, and he's still in there that late in the fourth quarter? Get him out of there. Let somebody else hand off. But this week, the Bills didn't do it till the Titans did it. And they just gave up before the fourth quarter even started. Just incredible. I got to ask, the one thing I'm concerned about really is the injuries on this team. We've talked in the past how good the Bills have been in keeping their players healthy. What is going on, John? What is going on? Did you see all the injuries from this game? Jordan Phillips, Matt Milano.
Jordan Phillips got hurt?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, the defensive tackle, they're getting a little thin there.
Mm-hmm.
You start off the season thinking that was maybe going to be a strength. Not after this game, it was a little thin.
You can watch it. You probably, if you're like me, you missed it. But I watched the replay part of it, and it was on camera. And remember when Milano intercepted the ball?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts running it back for a touchdown. Well, Phillips is running as hard as he can, and this is a 340-pound guy.
Right.
He's running as hard and fast as he can behind Milano to the inside of Milano, like he's going to get up and make a block to help him get into the end zone. And all of a sudden, he just went down. And he had a hamstring injury.
No, I did not realize that. A couple of the injuries, from what I understand today, were guys got some stingers
in
the second half, and they decided maybe they could have played more, but they didn't. It was already out of reach. The game was already put away. So Milano came out with a stinger. He never went back in.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that that a hamstring is something. That could linger.
That can linger. He could be out for a couple of weeks.
Uh, of course,
And he is the most, and Rousseau is getting a lot of credit in this game, and he should. But Jordan Phillips is the monster in the middle of that line. And we already have Ed Oliver and Tim Settle. What are you going to do without Jordan Phillips, who, in my opinion, is the best one of the bunch?
I think that they actually did pull for this game. They pulled two guys off the practice squad. Now, I don't know if they dressed or if they ended up on the 53-man roster, but they pulled you. So those guys are going to be with the team now on the 53-man roster for several weeks. You can't. I don't know all the rules, but I think once you pull someone, you've got to keep them for a couple weeks.
Okay.
Before you send them back. Now, maybe they don't have to. There may be some. Special contingencies with, depending on how many seasons they've been in the league, as far as how long you have to keep them. If you have to keep them for 3 games on the 53-man roster, if you could send them right back. But that might also be an indication that Settle might be out for a bit. Oliver might be out for a bit.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is not good. All right. Yeah, I remember Rousseau once he got a sack lining up inside of.
Yes, he lined up inside, and I believe it was, and I'd have to relook, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Jordan Phillips sucking up a double team and leaving Rousseau one-on-one, and he went right in the middle, And then I gotta question the amount of use of Diggs. The guy, I mean, nobody's even close to the amount of targets that he's getting. No, it's like Diggs is one receiver and all the other guys are the other receiver. So, it's like they had 38 pass plays. He made 14. I think he made 14 catches. It was either 12 out of 14 or 14 out of 16, something like that. So he was half the receiving targets. How are you going to replace that if he ever goes down, Jeff?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think you also have to look at it like in week 1, Gabe Davis played.
Yes. And he did good. He didn't even get half the targets that Diggs did, but
in week 2 he didn't. And as long as they got Diggs, they were okay. But there is no second guy.
No. Kumaro came in, made 3 catches. He did a good job, I thought.
Well, I'm a little bit more concerned in that because when Gabe Davis played, he was barely the second guy.
Yes.
This isn't a dynamic using both wide receivers. Now, they don't have the speed, but it's not like a Tariq Hall and a Waddle where they're both getting and happen to go off. This is a Diggs-centric offense, and that's he's very good. You certainly wouldn't want to have him and not use him. That would be foolish.
Yeah.
But it is also possible that they're using him because that's what they got. What's his name? The rookie is not ready. If we enjoy,
Shakir has meant nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them eventually bring Hodgins off that practice squad. At least he was making catches during the preseason. And I'm saying that is if maybe somebody else gets injured.
I know I would like to see Knox, Crowder, McKenzie get some targets.
Yeah, what's the deal with not using McKenzie and his speed over the middle? What's the deal on not using Dawson Knox?
I don't know.
I understand that and I'm giving you the numbers. Yes, they're using the running backs. They're making their offense 2-dimensional. And when you're thinking that, are they going to the running backs or are they going to the receivers? But they're only going to Diggs. And John, that scares me. That makes me nervous.
Yeah. I'm with you there. So He's looking for him. I mean, Allen is looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't. When the offensive coordinator speaks this week,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to see if he gets asked that question. Like he was asked a question like, how many runs are you going to have out? But I would like to see him asked, why isn't there as, like, we're not using the other wide receivers as much? Is there a problem? Is there a challenge there? Does he not have trusted him? Does the quarterback not have trusted him? What is the issue that now I know that Knox has been blocking quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. But is that the challenge? Is it that I need him as a blocker? I can't put him out, or he is going out and Allen just isn't throwing it to him?
Do you think that there could be some kind of a commitment on his part that he was going to get the running backs involved in the game, and he's throwing to Singletary and Moss, and then not those plays that would normally go to Knox or the slot receiver aren't getting them because he's made a commitment that he's got to utilize the running back?
And the offensive coordinator,
Yes.
that I don't know, and I would like to see that question get asked.
Mm-hmm.
I would sure as hell like to hear the answer.
You can't tell me that McKenzie, who in the preseason just was destroying other teams, and with his speed, he's not even a part of the game. You don't see him running the ball anymore. You don't see any end arounds or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, none of the gadget plays. That's true.
None of it. They're totally gone. And where's Knox? Here's a guy that last year was on the verge of being a Pro Bowler.
And they paid him. They paid him just before.
They paid him the money, and he's not being utilized. Are you telling me that they're double teaming the tight end and they're double teaming the slot guy and they're leaving Diggs wide open? That makes no sense to me.
I would like to hear that. I would like to hear the coordinator give that answer. Like, I don't, well, what he's going to say. If he would say that there was the defensive players, they had weaknesses to the cornerback, so he attacked the cornerbacks. I don't know what he's going to say. If he's going to say that, the strength of that defense is their safeties and linebacker play, and so we didn't really attack that. I don't know. But it is now 2 games that Knox hasn't had much influence in the passing attack. It's another game where there hasn't been much going on with the slot receiver.
And we looked at
last
week, when we looked against the Rams, Josh was throwing short passes over the middle. He was throwing them to Davis and Diggs. Why wasn't the tight end and the slot guy open? And what were those guys doing in the center of the field? And it makes you wonder, did the Tennessee, when they loaded that area inside and they had 8 guys in the middle, was it because they were trying to shut down the short passing in the middle of the field? And got stung with deep passes, because the Bills scored on deep passes.
They didn't. You mentioned earlier that the Tennessee used some cover 1. They used a deep,
yes.
And that might have been an indication that Diggs was 1-on-1. So that might. And
that's what. Yeah.
If the wideouts are 1-on-1, well, you're not going to Kumara 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
You may not, if Crowder's out there on you may not be going to him. You've got one of the best in the game at beating man coverage, so that's where you're going.
Yeah,
could be what Ken Dorsey would say. I don't know. I would like to hear what he has to say about it, though.
Okay. Well, let's listen for it this week and see before we get into a week 3 pick.
They may have both spoken today, but I believe the defensive coordinator did speak today.
Yeah.
Questions. I didn't catch it. I wasn't able to hear it, and then I haven't seen any recaps on it. Ken Dorsey might have spoke too, and I just don't know.
Well, here we are, and I'm questioning the Bills and what their thoughts and what they're doing, and they scored 41 points and were resting their team in the entire 4th quarter. So I got to say, whatever they are doing, they're doing a lot of right things. They're doing a lot of good things.
And we really hope that we get, not just for ourselves and as badly as we want to win, but hopefully the players that have been injured are recovered quickly for themselves.
Well,
As
John,
well.
if they can't get pressure on Tua, those guys are going to chew up the Bills cornerbacks. So yeah, that's why we're waiting a little bit to do our Bills upcoming game, and because we're trying to figure out what's going on with these injuries and where are these guys that are famous for keeping the Bills players healthy with all these minor injuries.
Well, I heard a report today that Dane Jackson did go in.
Yeah.
He didn't go on the field and work out with it, but
he was in the building. Yeah.
Hopefully, he had that neck stinger or whatnot. I don't know if he'll be able to play or not, but hopefully he's well on his way to feeling better and recovering.
Listen, I remember watching the game when Darryl Stingley, I don't know if you even remember that name or not, but he was paralyzed. Yeah. And it wasn't exactly the same kind of a play, but that's all I could think of when he went down. And the way his head snapped back, I mean, it went back farther than I think it's supposed to. It was a pretty dangerous hit.
I saw an article a few years back. The Bills in the offseason, they do some work with the EMTs. They do drills and stuff, and they get the guys that are going to be at the games there.
Okay.
I also understand that there has been some research into neck issues.
Yeah.
And apparently, when there's a blow to the neck or area, some of the damage is caused from swelling.
Mm-hmm.
And the EMTs on the field have the ability to give the guys a shot in the neck, which is specifically designed to reduce swelling, keep swelling away, so that when they get to the hospital, the swelling hasn't already begun to affect whatever. And the doctors, surgeons can look at it and see what's actually and what they need to do. That came out a few years ago with after Stingley.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out, and they said that not every team does that with the EMTs. The Bills had started doing. Ralph Wilson was still the owner at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I would like to think that stuff is still going on so that they're as prepared as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that was one horrible thing that happened to that kid Stingley, and let's hope that the teams have learned we don't want to see that again. And anything they can do to help reduce that is wonderful. And if you noticed or remember during the game, the commentators were talking about how he was in the ambulance.
Yeah, the ambulance was on the field fast.
But they didn't take off for the hospital for a while.
No, yeah, they said that they stayed in the parking lot.
So maybe they were working on him. Maybe they were talking with doctors or something. Maybe they were working
right away, right
there. So even before they took off, anything they could do that quickly that could help him. And I don't know. I'm guessing, but by what you're telling me, I wouldn't be surprised that they may have been working on him that fast.
Yeah,
thing they can do, they even in the ambulance he had movement in his extremities. So maybe, like you say, they were trying to take some preliminary things to do to keep it from getting worse before he got to the hospital.
That could be. That's the
sounds like the hospital really was just checking him out.
And we know that, we think we know that they still do prepare in the off season for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That was gruesome. I think Tremaine Edmonds who came across him.
Yes, right.
Friendly fire that was just gruesome.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts? How did you like since it was Monday Night Football? How did you like the occasional split screen?
I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid. I just before you called, I was watching a thing about it. And they were given the rating numbers and stuff on the Monday Night Football under this format. And the guy, he goes, ESPN was trying to justify what they did by saying that they had over 20 million viewers for this Monday Night Football game,
Oh, okay.
which would be decent. But as it turned out, that isn't true.
Oh,
They had 7.9 for the Bills game, and ABC had 12.9 for the Packers and Vikings game. I'm sorry, not Packers, but for the Vikings game. So the Vikings Eagle. So what they were trying to do, because both of those are very poor shares. So by adding the two together, they tried to make it decent and make it sound like they had a decent, but the reality is the Bills game only drew less than 8 million viewers, John. And the other one drew more, but less than 13 million viewers. And that was on free television. So it was just a terrible, terrible experiment on their part. And whether they continue to do that sort of thing. And, they went to that split screen a few times, but there was really no reason to. The Eagles were kicking the crap out of the Vikings, and the Bills were kicking the tar out of the Titans. There would be really no reason to go to the split screen. Well, we're going to show them how bad each team was still losing. It was there was no excitement in either game in that respect.
I'm not sure exactly what their goal was with that, but I can't imagine that they achieved it.
The Bills and Titan fans were already watching over here, and the Vikings Eagles fans are really watching over here. And do you think that they cared what was happening in the Bills game?
Watching the Bills game, and it's in the fourth quarter, and it's 41-7, and you haven't flipped over to the other game. It's because you want to see this.
Yeah.
So there's no point in giving a split screen because you really want to see this ball up for whatever reason. For Bills fans, I don't know if the Tennessee fans are still watching or not.
Now, if you're a fan, somebody living in North Carolina, and neither one of these teams is your team, and you go, okay, well, they're showing me, the Vikings playing the Eagles, and that game stinks. And now they put it over the other game, and it's like I wouldn't even keep the TV on. I would have changed the channel.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just, I think it was a stupid format. They're making a lot of these crazy ideas now, John, because I don't know why. I don't know where these guys are getting their ideas. I think they're in some ways desperate. Sports has declined in viewership on television over the last number of years. A lot of that has to do with, like, they say, the wokeness factor.
Oh,
And, I don't want to get involved in those kind of discussions, but they've lost a lot of fans over a number of years.
well, yeah, I hear you. Now, with that said, Dan and Phil still outpaces any other program.
Yeah, but here I am. I'm me. I'm a New York Yankee fan. Aaron Judge hit his 60th home run last night. He tied Babe Ruth. He's one away from the Yankee record of tying Roger Maris. The Maris family is at the games, and the Yankees aren't on television. Why doesn't ESPN get that on TV?
That's a good question.
What are they thinking? But instead, they come up with these other kind of crazy ideas that, you might have a lot of people around the country. You don't have to be a Yankee fan to want to see this game time, home run tying event to tying Roger Maris's record. This is by a guy. Yeah, the record's been broken, but not by anybody that wasn't on all kinds of drugs and all kinds of other enhancements in their body in order to increase their home runs. Aaron Judge is just a really great baseball player, and he's not all souped up inside. He's just playing well. Yeah. And you got to think to yourself, this is not going to be a record that has a star or asterisk next to it, like some of these other guys, like a Sammy Sosa, or who's that other guy from St. Louis, who then had to go to ended up apologizing to the Maris family for breaking the record. McGuire, yeah. So the way that baseball is pursuing it or pushing it is that this would be an American League record. It would be a Yankees record. And I think that fans all over the country may be interested in that, watching to see that, but they don't bother putting that on television. Instead, they did this kooky thing that they did last night with the split screen and putting 2 games on virtually at the same time by the same ownership. And then trying to take credit for the total number of viewers. They were competing against themselves.
All right, so you are not a fan.
No, how's that for? Yeah, you got me.
I don't know how I would have felt if the Bills weren't in one of the games, but I really wasn't much of a fan of what they did. All right, we're going to call this. If you liked our little talk, please hit the thumbs up.
Yep.
Subscribe, and by all means, feel free to leave a comment. We can assure you that we are wearing pants.
Yes.
One of the comments asking if we were wearing pants.
Yes. Yeah.
Pants. All right.
Yes, we are. Thank you, John. I'm excited about what the Bills are doing. And please don't take my criticism about what they're doing the wrong way. I'm very excited. They know what they're doing. And I love it. I just want to see them stay healthy.
Right. Healthy. All right. See you next week. Or actually, we'll see you in a few days when we finally do our pregame.
I'll be here.